Welcome to the IslandStats.com football show, your weekly dose of all the action from Bermuda's top football leagues. We bring you in-depth coverage of the Premier and First Divisions, results, highlights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. We also keep you up to date with the latest news and developments from the Bermuda Football Association. Stay tuned for the IslandStats.com football show, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about the beautiful game in Bermuda. Now let's join the IslandStats.com football show team. And good evening and welcome to this edition of the IslandStats.com football show. I'm your host, Darrell Baisden. Joining me is co-host Andrew Griffith, and we are awaiting Garrett Punchy Dill, who is having just a slight bit of technical problems, but he hopefully will join us at some point in time. Griff, later on in this show, will be joined by the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. But obviously, now that the season has started, it's been a stop-start due to a lot of weather that has kind of prevented some matches, a lot of rearranging of matches, as we have a match that is underway, that would have gotten underway just as we came on the air, the match between the Dandy Town Hornets and Paget Lions. And then at 8 p.m. this evening, we'll see the Boulevard Blazers and North Village Rams kick off. We do know last week there was a Dudley Eve doubleheader that took place at Bernard Park, where Devonshire Cougars defeated Young Man Social Club 5-0, and St. George's Colts then defeated Devonshire Colts 2-1. We know that the Devonshire Colts St. George's Colts match was a real significant one because St. George's had drawn 4-4 with Crossroads, the other team in the group, earlier prior to the Bermuda Jamaica game. So St. George's would have 4 points. Devonshire Colts would have no points, with Crossroads having 1 point. And then those two teams are scheduled to play on Tuesday night at Devonshire Recreation Club. But just looking at the early starts in Dudley Eve, Griff, what give us your, I guess, overall opinion of the amount of goals that have been scored, the I guess what you would consider a shock or somewhat of a shock result. With Boulevard beating Paget, we talked about that last week. Well, I say shock because we don't know what to expect from Boulevard, but here they are coming out, beating Paget, beating a Paget team, and we'll get another taste of what that Paget team is going to look like tonight.
So I think the key phrase you just said is we don't know what to expect, because that's what happens in the early season. Transfers, injuries, people lost for international duty, even preseason injuries. So it's hard to gain a flavor for where teams are. And like you also have the retirements of some players from the end of last season. So it's very difficult to gauge who's where. We can go on like past experience from last year or year prior, but a promoted team coming up and doing something is a bit abnormal. But like you can't take anybody for granted in the early stages. You can get some surprises. Look at Hamilton Parish winning the trophy last year and then coming off the rails. So these things, cup games, anything can happen, and early season is another variable that you can't plan for.
Yeah. What will be your thoughts on Devonshire Cougars beating Young Man Social Club 5-0?
That is, it again, it's hard to tell whether that's an outlier or if that's the way it's going to be. I think Social Club picked up a few players. They also lost players, so it's hard to tell. Because I think last year they had some early season wins, which helped them out later on in the season. So,
right.
Is it that they're going to be one of these strugglers to stay up this year? Hard to tell. But if those results continue, then I think we have to consider Social Club as one of the teams that could be in trouble from jump.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at your shirt because the former Red Devils in Bermuda, the North Village Rams, are struggling just like Manchester United. But they played Dendytown twice and come out on the wrong end twice. They have a chance to kind of change people's perception of the defending champions, of defending premier champions later on tonight when they take on Boulevard. But it's got to be some concern. Although you played the same team twice, but you lost twice, there's got to be some concern about don't want to lose a third game in a row just to start any season.
It's like, well, I think you throw the charity cup out the window, but again, yes, you said you don't want to lose, but you're right. Losing 3 games in a row, is it something? And the 1 goal game, so a bounce either way here or there. Maybe it's not a loss, or it's a draw, but yes, you would have some concern, and I think there would be some pressure on North Village to produce a result, because going out like in the group stages of the competition would be bad for the past league champion and FA Cup winners. So you have to wonder, okay, was last year a fluke? People will start asking. Have you made changes? Is the honeymoon period with your new coach over? So those things will come into play. So yes, I think a victory would ease some pressure on North Village, and I think they would be feeling it going into the game.
Is it one of those things where when you get a host of new players in, and obviously players, like you say, retire and so forth, getting started early preseason, because everybody has this same notion, we start this time or every time we every season, but when you have a nucleus of new players, is it one of those things where you need to try to figure out starting a little earlier to get those players into the system? Would that be something that old teams should look at?
I would say yes, but if you remember from last season when we had Patches on, he said he keeps it light and he tries to let everybody have fun. Let's just play ball and do the right things, and you enjoy your football. So if that's the baseline, I think that should be easy to adapt to if you come in. If you're having fun and knocking the ball around, but if you're out of shape or you got niggling injuries, it may not be that fun when you're out there. So
the only problem with that is in Bermuda, as long as you're winning, that's a great method.
Yes, yeah.
If you're not getting the results, then you start to see what is considered the dwindle effect. Certain people stop coming training, especially if they're not playing. Some players take it easy in training or come up with excuses why they can't train and so forth. And then game day, they're okay, but the results are still the same. You know what I mean? So, yes, if you could start off that way and things are going well, yeah, you can continue to have fun. But I'm pretty sure the attitude is a little different when things are not
and
doing so well.
Don't forget the other part you didn't mention, because you can see it as an example from the Bermuda games. When things don't go well, fans are fickle. They will turn on you fast. And at those games, when they're screaming on you and beating you down in games, that's no fun either. Right.
One of the things, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that I noted, a lot of people, especially online, it's funny because, yes, you can have your say, but where's your support? By you showing up, you think that's your support? Do you support your team like that, your local team like that? I'm pretty sure a lot of people support many teams over in Europe, but you could say that about somebody that's a professional, and you don't have no personal grudge against the people you're talking about. But it seems like in Bermuda, it's always, I don't like this person, or I don't like the team that person plays for, so that person shouldn't be playing for the squad, or that person's dumb, or that person's this and that person's that. You know what I mean? So it's more to it, underlining to it, and I just think that we need to support one another more and more, and especially starting at the local clubs. We should see more people supporting the clubs that they supported back in the day, and that would help to curb some of what we consider nonsense that chased away a lot of people because we let them win. You know what I mean? When we started seeing not on the field but off the field a lot of disturbance, when you had police showing up, having to show up, because people in the crowd can't behave, sort of thing, and then people just stop coming, which at the time I could understand, but now it's a time for football to win. You know what I mean? To come back and support that club that you supported when you was a young person, and give those players the same thing you gave those players back in the day.
But I'll push back a bit on it from my time when I was involved with the BFA executive, and I guess when he comes on, Mark Wade, I guess, can also be in. The antisocial behavior, that's not a football problem. That's a Bermuda problem.
Yes.
That manifests itself sometimes at football, cricket, and other events that we go to. So
right.
to say that you're not going to football games because South Africans, like it's your country, it's your society, earn it. Don't hide from it and say it's not my issue. It's all of our issue.
Which is a valid point, and that's why I think we lost a lot of people during that period of time. It was almost like head in the sand type of thing. I don't want to hear. I'm not going around it. But the funny part was, most people knew who the people were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I honestly believe that, and I've had words with people from other media outlets that, an incident happens at 1:00 in the morning, and the headline reads footballer or cricketer, something negative. Where, why didn't you put where that person worked? You don't want to mess with your a potential sponsor that puts money into your organization to advertise and stuff. So you throw it on the sport, which is easy because then you throw up all this other stuff about the sport itself. So it's one of those things where, yeah.
We can do a whole other like 3-hour show on the negative influence of media. So like that's everybody that knows football and cricket knows that angle, how players are unfairly identified as footballers or cricketer, because you don't see equestrian does XXX when something goes wrong, or rower does this. It's an effort made to, I think, malign the national sports to identify, because if somebody does something wrong, there are many other things before they're a footballer. Their uncle, a cousin, a carpenter, or it's like they do many other things outside of football. So to identify them first off as a footballer cricketer is a bit of disservice, in my opinion. But yeah, everybody talks about that, and it's been a long time issue. So
I'm pretty sure right now the huddle around our table talking about what we're talking about anyway, because they watch and they know, and I kind of don't tolerate that nonsense anyway. But anyway, back to this season. We'll try to bring you updates on the match that started at 6:00 at Devonshire Recreation Club this evening as it goes along. But again, at the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. That battle of Devonshire of the Colts after the Devonshire Cougars Young Social Club game, with St. George's having played a match, would have been kind of up to speed, where Devonshire Colts playing their first match. You think it's a bit of a disadvantage if you haven't played, or if you've played? Which one would you rather be in? Having played a match, or being your first match?
Like being at the beginning of the season, definitely haven't played a match, because nothing replicates actual game sharpness like playing games. So if you play the game, it's definitely to your advantage. Like you dust off the cobwebs, because like the test in your lungs or the sweat that you get in training is not like in a game when stuff's on the line. It's good to have taxed your body and been put under real game situation stress rather than training. Like even practice games are not the same. If you're changing 7, 8 players at a time. It's not the
Right.
same.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk more Dudley Eve, and then we'll be joined by the president of the Bermuda Football Association. We'll be right back.
This September, refresh and reinvigorate with the finest sparkling waters. Maison Perrier, brought to you by John Barrett & Sons and available at Lindo's. Known for their commitment to quality, John Barrett & Sons proudly distributes Maison Perrier sparkling waters sourced from the purest springs to bring you a crisp, clean taste with every sip. Whether you're savoring the classic taste of natural spring water or exploring the vibrant notes of their flavored options. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Beneath the clear blue sky, where the ocean meets the land, and the long-tails fly in Bermuda. Our hearts belong to this beautiful island. As an island, we are strong, proudly Bermudian. In every single way, from the sunrise to the sunset, and every single day, for over 135 years. It's been clear, Lady Silence, proudly Bermudian. Bringing us near. Cause we are proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian.
You ever crack open a Coke and just... perfect.
It's that cold, classic hit that never lets you down.
Whether you're chilling with friends or just need a break, you can't go wrong with Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Nothing else compares.
Proudly distributed by Butterfield and Vallis.
And welcome back. We are still awaiting Punchy Dill as well. He's having a bit of technical issues getting on. But with the Bermuda Football Association released the Premier Division schedule for the upcoming season, which actually kicks off on September 26th on the Friday night at Bernard Park, where North Village will take on what I consider one of their jinx teams, Devonshire Colts. The last time Devonshire Colts were, playing up in, they played last season. No, they came up this season, last season. But it always seems like a very tight encounter when Devonshire Colts and North Village play. And I think Devonshire Colts would want to spoil North Village's title defense right out the bat. You think?
Definitely. Devonshire Colts is always prepared, so it won't be an easy game. And I know towards the end of last season, when Devonshire Colts and North Village played, and I think Village desperately had to win the game against them. I think they did eventually win, but they won it late, and it wasn't an easy game. So I expect that to be a very tight game.
They actually won the league. They actually won the
points.
Yeah, they actually won the league. That game won them the league.
On that game?
On that game at Police Field. Yeah, last season. So that
game, it wasn't, I think they won by two or three goals, but it wasn't as close. Well, it was closer than they scored. It was a very tight game.
Yeah. I think they scored 2 goals late to make it like 3-1.
Late,
yeah, something like that.
And again, for what Punchy said, the goal scorers in that game, I think were
Jonte and
Jai.
And Jai.
They may not be playing then. So, and that seems to be the issue in the past 2 games. Village can't score goals. So that game it could be tight. But I think we'll have a better idea of what that game will be like when we see some more of the Dudley Eve games.
Yeah, and we have an update from Devonshire Recreation Club. It is Dandytown 1, Patriot Lions 0. So we'll continue to get updates, and thank you very much for the update. And as they come in, we'll continue. And then we switch to the Saturday night over at BAA, where Boulevard Blazers hosts Devonshire Cougars. Two rival teams, a lot on the line for Boulevard, because they would want to start the season just like they did in the Dundee with taking a scalp of a big club. We see Punchy's making his way. Ian, let's see.
Yeah.
Punchy, good evening.
Hey guys,
Is there? Yeah.
Yeah.
real trouble getting in.
Not a problem, boss. Not a problem. We're talking about the start of the Premier League season. We talked about Devonshire Colts and North Village, which will take place on the Friday night. Sorry, and now we're talking about obviously Boulevard and Devonshire Cougars on the Saturday night at BAA. And I mentioned that Boulevard's going to want to start the league season like they started the Dudley League season, taking a scalp of a big Premier Division club, and why not take that of what's considered a rival for them, Devonshire Cougars?
That Boulevard situation, the Boulevard, well, I think they'll start off on the right foot, when you come up and you get a victory like that. So I'm really I'm happy for them. I really am. I can see that all the people I talk to, the Boulevard followers, are talking about progress. This is one game at a time. But excuse me guys, I'm just walking back because my nephew fixed my phone.
Okay.
But anyway, it's Boulevard.
Yeah.
He's just breaking up. He probably walked out of range of his Wi-Fi.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Griff, on that particular match?
I think again, because it's back, because Boulevard go up and down. It's hard to tell if the same team that starts out in September is going to be the same team that's there in February, March. So they'll have to prove it first and win 3 or 4 games to see if they're legit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I do believe so. You're right there with that.
Yeah. Now, Punchy, let me just ask, because Devonshire Cougars played Social Club last week Sunday, and got a big win. Them continuing on in that vein, do you think that will continue? I think 3 goals scoring as they did.
No, I just think that. Well, yeah, I think Social Club are probably the weaker team in this league now, in this section. I think so. I think they've had a good run of the time that they've been up. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be very difficult for them this year. But I do hear that Zico Luz is supposed to come back and be affiliated with them somehow. I heard it through the grapevine that might help them.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't think Social Club is going to sustain what they've done for the last 2 years. Be able to stay up and actually, compete with these other teams. I think they're like teams. I just don't. I think they're probably one of the first candidates for
relegation.
For relegation, yeah.
So who would you say the other candidate will be?
If we're going, as Craig said, I don't think Crossroads is going to be one. I don't think so.
Either.
I don't think so at all. It's going to be kind of difficult. I mean, well, this going to be a tight. I think it's going to be a tight league this year too. In terms of the first 6. The next contender for that, well, I can't. Like I said, I don't. Boulevard, maybe. Maybe it depends how they can, if they can sustain themselves through the year. I mean, the most important thing is, okay, they're doing well in this cup, but the league is going to be how they're going to be judged over a month of time. We'll have to see this by Christmas. Once I look at the league by Christmas and see what Boulevard is, then I have to start saying, yep, they look contenders also. But, like tonight will be they're probably going to put on a good show tonight on the Devonshire Record against North Village. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, they will want to do that. Yeah, definitely. To show that that the first win wasn't a fluke kind of thing. They establish themselves and say, we belong in the Premier Division. So, yeah, definitely.
That's why I asked you who the other contender will be, because I don't have a clue either. Like, it's a difficult pick to
well,
make.
most pundits would say the 2 teams that come up will be in that contention or in that conversation of going back down.
But I agree with Punchy. I don't think it's going to be Crossroads.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're right. When we're talking about, who came up last year or year before that. Like I said,
Yeah.
social clubs held their own for a while,
Right.
but I think it's a lot different story now with Crossroads. I'm sure we'll talk about Crossroads, but I just think that social club and Boulevard. And again, as the season wears on, when you got to play away from home, when you got to go up there against the PHCs, you got to play the Paget's. It's going to be tough for Boulevard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Then on the Sunday, you have 3 matches. Young Man Social Club hosts Dandytown Hornets at Police Field. Paget entertain Crossroads, and PHC hosts St. George's Colts. Out of the 3 games, which one would you consider, Griff, may be the closest of all?
Well, as soon as you said it, I thought the Paget and Crossroads game will have a lot to say about how the season will shape out. Because if one team dominates the other, then that tells you a lot right from the bat. But if it's a close game, that also reveals something. So I think that having a look at that game will reveal a lot.
Yeah. What about you, Punchy? Which one do you think will be rather close?
I think the same thing what Griff was saying, Is it Paget and Crossroads? Yep. Yeah, I think there's gonna be that one. There's gonna be pretty close. That's gonna be pretty close. Again, I've seen Crossroads what they came back from 4-0, 4-1 down or 4-2.
Yeah, 4-1 down.
Yeah.
4-1.
But I've seen them in preseason games, and they look very, very. First of all, they look very, very energetic. They look the team's playing gelling well, and the other thing is that their fitness level, the speed. Yeah. It looks like they're very, as we guys talked about, having the coach come back, the Moroccan coach come back and take over.
Yeah.
He's done a tremendous job again on how he bonds the team. I was being able to
cross them.
Don't be tough to do.
Definitely, yeah. Well, let's take our second commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. We'll be right back.
The pink sands beneath the clear blue sky, where the ocean meets the land, and the long-tails fly in Bermuda. Our hearts belong to this beautiful island. As an island, we are strong, proudly Bermudian. In every single way, from the sunrise to the sunset, and every single day for over 135 years, it's been clear. Paget silence, proudly Bermudian, bringing us near. Cause we are proudly Bermudian. Paget silence, proudly Bermudian. Paget silence, proudly Bermudian.
You ever crack open a Coke and just perfect?
It's that cold, classic hit that never lets you down.
Whether you're chilling with friends or just need a break, you can't go wrong with Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Nothing else compares.
Proudly distributed by Butterfield and Vallis.
Wondering what life could be like with Drop It? Imagine more time to relax, recharge, and enjoy the little things, like floating stress-free while your groceries come to you. Don't let errands eat up your day. Drop It brings Lindo's groceries right to your doorstep while you do, well, whatever you want to do. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. We want to welcome in the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. Welcome, sir.
Hey, good evening. Good evening to the legend, and good evening to Griff.
Hey, what? I don't got a legend?
No.
You get a ledger. You don't get a legend.
Yeah, a legend. All right.
Well, Mr. Wade, we've started the domestic season with the Charity Cup, and now we're into the Dudley Eve. But obviously, first of all, we have to talk a little bit about what your thoughts were over the first 2 matches, international matches, the World Cup qualifiers. Give us your assessment of how you think the team performed, and looking forward to October 10th.
Sure. Well, first of all, before I get into the team, I really want to take a moment to thank Bermuda. I think the fans responded to the call, and the players couldn't wish for a better atmosphere to perform in. So thank you to Bermuda for that, and we're looking forward to the same response for the match against Trinidad on October the 10th. But in terms of the team, what I keep saying is this is where we want to be. We want to be competing against this level of opposition in our region, and the only way for us to get better is to play more against them. I saw enough to be encouraged, but then there's the coach in me, which where I was disappointed in some of the errors that we made, some of the tactical errors we made. And then also some of the individual errors. Disappointed because I know they can play better. So from that standpoint, we I like what Dennis Brown says often. We don't lose, we learn. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've learned over those two matches, right? Even the match against Curacao, where I think we are worth a point, honestly. We just needed to execute a little better. They'll perform well, but we needed some other players to perform at the same level, and I think we would have come up with at least a point out of that one.
Sure. Griff, you have anything on this topic?
Yes, because I think Mark may have to do the politically correct thing with the fans and the Bermuda public, because we expressed on the show last week that I think just as happy as we were to see the pride and the build-up and the spirit for the Jamaica game and everything is, you see the stadium full, it was wonderful. But I was just as disappointed to see a lot of the negativity after the game, where people go, even up to now, I argue with my friends today, oh, Bermuda were trash, we could do better. I don't want to do mistakes, like we're nowhere. I said, no, that's not the case. Like, we have to be supportive, even in defeat. Take the pluses, and you're always trying to do that, man. It's not that part. I said, look, this week, England beat Serbia 5-0. Are people walking around now saying Serbia is trash? No, it's one of those days. If a team is better than you any day, they're better, and these things will happen. And we take the lessons from it, and hopefully we grow. That's what I don't know what you have to say on that, Mr. Wade.
Well, for me, I look at it this way: that there is a lot of misinformation out there that that people are using to express their dissatisfaction one way or another. And thankfully, from what I've seen, those voices are not as loud as the ones who were proud of what they saw. I'll be honest, I try not to spend too much time and put too much headspace on those who have so much negative things to say about our teams, because it's not just the senior men's team, and even about our football. I try not to spend too much headspace. I have enough gray hair as it is, so I don't really want to add too much more, right? So to those persons, I really don't have a response to them, because there's the persons who have nothing to say when we beat Cuba in Cuba. So yeah, no.
Yeah. Punchy, what about you? Anything on the international topic?
Oh yeah, I want to ask. Good evening, Mr. President. In Saturday's paper, Nicky Rouse was stating about how he feels it's just so easy for us to be beaten now. We just seem to be easy, especially against top teams. We're looking at the results against Honduras, and then against Jamaica, and again against Curacao. His words seem to bring a, when you read what he had to say about be easy, we just seem too easy to beat. I thought the players in the second game look a little bit tired. They looked weary. But that's a cause for concern for me also, in terms of this country using known. If you go to Bermuda, I'm going back some time now. If you come to Bermuda, you're going to have one hell of a game. You know, and it just seems that, I don't know. Do you think that has changed the mentality, or what do you think it is? Because for Nikki to say that, is that, would there be a coaching problem, or would it be the players' problem, or what would make him make that statement? No, because you know what level he's playing at. So could you probably give us some information about that? What's your opinion about that?
Well, for me, I won't speak for Nikki. I won't even try to speak for Nikki. But what I will say is that I think Curacao would disagree. I think Cuba would disagree. I even think that the team we went up 2-0 on would disagree. So those are results that you cannot deny. So you know, that's a question maybe you can put to Nikki.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just look a little bit, you know, about that when he made that statement. That's his personal opinion. I do understand that. But in terms of when we look at the goals and the goals that are scored so early, which me and Griffith talked about on the pregame show, and again the conceding goals early, and that's got to be a real problem for us now, especially on set pieces. The coach has said that he's addressed that, but it still seems that it's still a problem. I'm just actually, you know, I mean, you're not in the coaching sessions, but don't you think we still have a problem with that?
My response to that would be, I think we need to look at the matches over the last 2 years, 3 years, versus the last 2 matches. And that may tell a different story.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're saying, okay, yeah. But those games, what was so vital about those games? Because this is a World Cup qualifier with that close, you know, with 6 games. I look at it, 540 minutes. That's how I look at it. Six games, 90 minutes, 540 minutes. And it looks like we're going to uphill a battle right now. But I just think that, you know, I get around a lot of people and they're saying, it's just easy, you know, the goals that we concede. You know, this game come up against Trinity. I do hope what's your view in terms of for the viewing public? Because, you know, Bermudians can be how they can be in terms of, well, I'm not going to, they're only going to lose again.
Well, I mean, I would, for me, I would look at I would look at our performances, look at what improvements we saw from one match to the next, and be there to find and see another improvement from one match, from the first match to now what will be the third match. In addition to that, I think Bermudians have to mature. They have to mature out of being the fair weather friends, and I think they need to back their team even when things are not going right or when the team is in some type of difficulty. And
just like Manchester United.
We have to mature out of that. If we want to be successful against Mexico, we got to be just as boisterous behind our team as the Mexicans are when Mexico is not doing well.
So I know that you talked about it on the Talking Sports. There's some people online, the devout hardline football guys saying nobody respects you in pink. How you gonna go there in pink? So would you again relay your thoughts on our show or what you said about the pink jerseys?
Sure. I mean, well, first of all, let me just give the history. Basically, the national sports governing bodies, all of them, got together and decided that they wanted Bermuda to have its own identity. And part of that identity, and they decided that identity was blue water, pink sand. And that's where the pink and blue came from. It ties in quite nicely with the buses, the bus laybys. It ties in quite nicely, right? So that for me is part of it, right? Bermuda has its own identity now. Whether the color is pink or blue, I personally don't feel like that makes too much of a difference. And I'll say it because for the Real Madrid fans out there, they have a pink strip. For the Messi fans out there, he wears pink because it's not the color. It's not the color that dictates your performance. So,
Yeah, I'll have you know, one secure participant in this show wore pink blazer to the game. So I get what you're saying.
there you go. There you go. But
Well,
it may come a time that, you know, pink is not the dominant color. But right now, the colors for that we're wearing is pink and blue. So do we have a white strip with pink trim? Maybe. We'll see. But for now, yeah, the color is pink. I'll tell you what, under 23 Gold Cup gold medal champions don't have a problem with pink. Let's not forget that. Our women who are 3-time gold medalists don't have a problem with pink. So, you know, there's some people looking for excuses in my mind, or just looking for something to complain about.
Yes, and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That you did it because most of the countries that are playing have red, white, and blue flags. So a lot of the colors were red and blue. So that's why it was pointless to keep going with red and blue.
Sure, and depending on where your social and political views lie, that's tied to colonialism.
Now you're getting into a whole different show.
That's a whole different show. Yeah. Mr. President, what I'd like to ask you, being on the show also, the expectations now, because I have said this before, and I said it on the show before, the expectations for a lot of players playing overseas that on the national program, the expectations of the viewing public for Bermuda has gotten very high now in terms of what they expect. Those results, and I've heard that, you know, the results are not really satisfying for us. So are you saying that we're still in the growing stages now, even with the team that is senior? Because are you still saying that Bermuda national team is in a growing stage? Are we still, is that what you're saying? Because most of the people I've talked to after the game, and even since it's going by, they're expecting more from the national team in terms of results. Like that we just, you know, in terms of results, better results. That's what they expect. So are our expectations, the viewing public's expectations, too high that we, you know, or what do you have to say about that in terms of, you know, whenever we have to play the likes of the higher teams in the Caribbean, in the CONCACAF region? What is your response to that?
Well, firstly, I would say that football doesn't stand still ever. So we're always going to be in a growing stage. We're always going to be looking to improve, always. And if the minute we stop looking to improve and think that we've arrived, we've lost. So the team has to continue to evolve. If you look at the team itself now, look at the amount of players who are over 30. Who participated in the Gold Cup in 2019. So yes, the team is now trying to, while keeping experience, trying to now inject some youth into it as well. And you see that in the Deniche Hills, the Detroit Burgesses, who are now, you know, have entered the field. Deniche is a starter. You have Nijai Tucker, who is now, you know, an integral part of the team. So I think I think people need to do a bit more research on where our players are playing in comparison to the opponents we play against. And for us, we need to get our players playing higher up the football pyramid. We need 25 in the Keys.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. President, because that has been a talking point also. When you look at the roster of where the Jamaicans are playing and where the Bermudians are playing, the level is a lot different. It's a lot of difference in terms of where they're playing. So I think I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm very glad you put that forward. Thank you for inform. Yeah.
Sure.
So, Mr. President, I'm again going to reach out to you because I think you give the nice politically correct answer. So if you agree with what I'm about to say, you just blink. You ain't got to come out and review. I think a lot of our fans are somewhat arrogant or unrealistic. If you think a country of 60,000 has some sort of God-given right to beat somebody that has millions of people in the population to select from, and then they have a wider selection from people that are of descendants from that country. So when we had spoken the pregame, we were hoping that if some miracle happened, we could squeak out some sort of miracle 1-0 or a draw 0-0. That's a big. But some people think like, oh yeah, go up there and flog Jamaica. Like that's not realistic. Even after the game, we sat there listening to the interviews. The Jamaican administrators, not Jamaica, yes, they came onto the field and said, hey, they grabbed the coach. Hey, look how good. They said, pretty good. We're going to the airport. They said, what place leaving Bermuda? Oh, we have a charter. So I'm like, whoa, that on another level. Then they look at it and say, oh, whoa, the coach, he's not working cheap. So they have more money than us. They have more people, more money. So it's unrealistic. Did I see you blink?
Yeah, no, you didn't see me. No, I would say that I would say we just need to be more knowledgeable and more realistic. If you tell me you expect us to win the gold medal in the Island Games, I'll say yes, okay. I agree. Because there's our countries closer to our
size.
So closer to our size, closer to our population, and closer to us in funding. So I would agree. But if you tell me you're expecting us to beat the US, whose budget is our budget is 1/10 of the US's budget. So the US's budget is in the 30 million range. You know, I say, are you being realistic? You know, and that's the top echelon in CONCACAF. Can we get there? Sure. If we got more and more of our players playing at a higher level, particularly in the UK, where the pathway is a lot easier for us, then you'll see us compete more regularly against the top teams in CONCACAF.
Yeah. Well, what we're gonna take a next commercial break, but when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with the Bermuda Football Association President Mark Wade. We'll be right back.
You ever crack open a Coke and just perfect?
It's that cold, classic hit that never lets you down.
Whether you're chilling with friends or just need a break, you can't go wrong with Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Nothing else compares.
Proudly distributed by Butterfield and Vallis.
When it comes to tuna, why not choose Bermuda's Best? Bermuda's Best tuna delivers that classic ocean fresh taste, perfect for sandwiches, salads, and all your go-to favorites. High in protein, low in fuss, it's a pantry essential that's proudly Bermudian. Grab a can or a few next time you're at Lindo's. Bermuda's Best tuna, local, reliable, and delicious. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Beneath the cloud blue sky, where the ocean meets the line, and the long tails fly in Bermuda. Our hearts belong to this beautiful island. As an island, we are strong, proudly Bermudian. In every single way, from the sunrise to the sunset, and every single day for over 135 years. It's been clear, Pages silence, proudly Bermudian. Bringing us near. Cause we are proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian. Digital is proudly Bermudian.
And welcome back. One another update from the Devonshire Recreation Club halftime. It is the Dundee Town Hornets 2, Paget Lions 0 in the Dudley Eve opener, and the nightcap at 8. We'll see the Boulevard Blazers and North Village take to the field. But back to the conversation with the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. Mr. Wade, we'll turn our attention to the domestic start to the season. Give us your impressions on, just the start of the season thus far. We started with the Charity Cup in the midst of the hustle and bustle of the international stuff. We got the start of the domestic season underway. But give us a sense of your thoughts on the early start to the season.
I would say so far so good. We started with the Charity Cup and North Village and Dandytown played for the Family Center and Curb. Curb come out the winners. So as soon as we finish all the finances, we'll be able to make a donation to Curb on behalf of Dandytown. So very happy about that. And here we are with our Dudley Eve matches, just continuing on tonight. We had to make a couple of adjustments over the weekend, but we push on. The ball keeps rolling. So far so good.
Now, I know we had this conversation last week about years going by when we had the Martinburg that started the season, the top six. It's something to play for, the top six. Now we see the Dudley Eve, and we have the 10 teams that are in the Premier Division playing. There's pluses and minuses, I guess, and I guess it's an opportunity for the association to explain the plus of having all 10 teams play in the tournament opener as opposed to having 6 teams press at the end of the season to become the top 6 to play in the I guess would be Martinburg/Dundee.
Sure. So I'll tell you, the overriding reason for it is that the teams that come up and the teams that just miss out on relegation were at a disadvantage when league play started. That was the overriding reason for it. And I would suggest probably a good opportunity to have the chairman of competitions, Fresh Vice President Shannon Bridges on, to talk a bit more about that. But that was the overriding reason that those teams were disadvantaged.
We discussed that before you came on. That like the teams that have 1 or 2 games in this competition before all the team has won, they're definitely at an advantage.
No, you think about it. You've had take on North Village and Dandytown. They would have, let's say they don't even get out of the group stage. They would have had 3 highly competitive matches before their first league game. Just think of how that puts them against the teams that have just been promoted out of the first division.
Mr. President, I want to ask you a question also. The conversations come up again about our experience for local players. Why is it now that we're not entering the CONCACAF club or the Caribbean club? How come we're not involved in this competition no more like they used to? What has happened? Why is that? Is it because, could you explain, is it because it's about the clubs, or is it what has happened? Because I remember times when when PHC were involved and they were playing against Aluense from Costa Rica. Wouldn't that be a plus for us in terms of experience if our clubs can now be involved with those type of competitions? Do you think so? Would it help us domestically also?
You're talking to the converted, sir.
Yes.
Having played in that competition, yeah, absolutely. It will be a benefit to us domestically. The issue is cost, without a doubt. And until our clubs can see a way to make it work financially, I think they're always going to have a problem with it. They're always going to have a challenge when doing it, right? So we've had North Village have competed in it, Dandytown. They've all traveled and competed in the competition.
Somerset was the last one.
Somerset, thank you. But it's a challenge, right? What's in their favor is that the competition has changed slightly, in that they have now a Caribbean Shield, where the amateur clubs play in the Caribbean Shield. So they don't reach the sort of professional teams until they've advanced out of the Caribbean Shield.
Mm-hmm.
That's a positive. But the cost is still a limiting factor. And I know our clubs always have, and especially our coaches always have one eye on, if I win the league, can we somehow make it work? But until we find a way financially to make it work, I think it's always going to be a challenge.
So you're saying the opportunity is there, just
Absolutely.
cost is the main inhibiting factor.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
So I have a question. It's tangential to the league play. I saw a few times at the end of last year, and it surprised me that on one of the betting sites overseas is one Bermuda game listed each week, and I was like, whoa! But it shows like people take notice of what we're doing. But again, like other places, that always leads you to the next step of match fixing. Is that something that you guys worry about at BFA?
Absolutely. We worry about it even at the international level. I can tell you that in 2019, we had a specific watch on who our players interacted with in the hotel. Because we did get intelligence through David Sobert, who is part of that security team, that there were match fixers in and around the Gold Cup. So fast forward to today, yeah, it's definitely a concern for us. And while it adds some flavor to our matches, that we now have the ability to bet on our matches, but there is a definite concern, and we continue to monitor that with the assistance of FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
We have
the other thing that just came through her discussion.
One second, Punchy. We have
Sorry, go ahead.
President to answer. We have Nathan Trott, who fits the profile that the president speaks about. What's the story on him? Probably one of the most professional players we have.
Oh wow!
You will be answering. You can blink again.
Yes. How you gonna? Yeah, wow. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I think we answered it. I think I answered it last week, but go ahead, Mr. Wade.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I know that every coach has spoken to Nathan Trott. I know that Coach Finley speaks to him regularly in an attempt to get him to commit to Bermuda. At the end of the day, it's up to the player, and the player has to want to represent Bermuda. Nathan's in a envious position that he can choose between multiple countries. And time will tell whether or not we can convince him to play for Bermuda.
Understood.
We have an update just before you punch. We have an update from Devonshire Recreation Club. It's now Dendytown Hornets 3, Paget Lions 0. So, Punchy, over to you.
The inclusion of lights at North Village, it's my team and it's my club. So, I'm hoping, with what do you think that would help Bermuda football in terms of having our lights? I know it's going to help us financially, it definitely will. What was it do for the country as a whole, as North Village being one of the leading clubs in the country?
Yeah, I'll say that, gosh, pre-COVID, we had a look at football in general, and we started to think about what were the best, if we had to do, or if we wanted to do sort of large projects, what would we do, and what's the best way to impact the game, and owing to the refereeing crisis that we are still sitting in, and also being able to kind of support clubs in spreading the joy around, right? That the decision was made then to do two fields. PAC had some infrastructure already, so we were able to, with a moderate amount of money, bring that field online. And then the committee at the time had to make a choice between, I think it was like 3 or 4 facilities, and the committee at the time chose North Village. So there's lighting infrastructure for the benefit of all football. The agreements that we have in place with North Village, PAC, and also Somerset, because we've also assisted Somerset in fixing their lights as well, involves them making the field available to other clubs. So that's the main benefit right now, and being able to spread football over an entire weekend. That helps in terms of fan numbers, right? The same group of fans can now attend the game on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask you about Somerset and the usage of it. Obviously, they just finished playing cricket up there, so turning the field over to football will take a little while. But the availability to play up at Somerset, is that an option as well to spread some of the stuff out?
I'm not sure on the status of the lights because they did have an issue last year.
Yes.
So I'll be honest, I'm not up to speed on where they are. But in terms of field availability, we do ask clubs to declare when their field will be available. With the cup match clubs in particular, we actually release the cup match venue earlier. So for example, this year, St. George's would have been released from football, I think, early March. And so we'll do the similar thing with Somerset for next year.
So is the intent to do any more fields?
Which do what?
Blink.
Blink. Yeah, blink. Okay. All right, got it.
So yes, there is an intent to do at least one more lighting facility. But even beyond that, we want to start looking at other parts of the infrastructure at our clubs as well. So the executive will have a chat about that when we start to do budget time in December, and hopefully we can bring another program on board where we start to look at other parts of club infrastructure.
So you said part of it was helping to ease the referee crisis. Could you let everybody know how many registered referees do you currently have?
No, I'm not gonna try and be the be-all and end-all president. I suggest you have Mr. Cranston Williams.
Mr. Cranston Williams,
and he will be able to give you a detailed analysis of where we are in terms of referee.
Is there a possibility of seeing you hold a flag again this season, sir?
No. My qualifications have expired. I did my one game.
I think his pace has tipped too. His pace is a little bit on the low side.
He'll be all right.
But no, we need 30 referees at the senior level, and I think we're under 10 at the moment. So it's an area that we definitely need to put even more attention to. Right now, we're able to alleviate some of that stress by bringing in referees from around the region. But as you can imagine, that is a costly venture. So at the same time, we are investing in our young people. So yeah, I mean, refereeing is a rewarding experience, not only financially, but even beyond that. So we're just keep plugging away at finding more referees to come in and referee in our games, and that not only just center referees but also assistant referees as well.
So because I did spend some time officiating, so this might be another one of those blink questions, but what would you say is the biggest impediment to recruiting referees?
I would say the biggest impediment is misinformation again. I think there's this overriding view that referees are abused and going home crying and all these types of things, and that's just not the case. And while there is banter, there is abuse. It's not at the level that that Bermuda think it is. And I think a conversation with some of our FIFA listed referees and some of the referees who are still working at it, and even some of the parents who have, because we have our youngsters who referee as well. Maybe they'll be able to give you maybe a better view of what is the true level of the abuse, and what's the true level of respect that they get. So there are numerous stories of where a player or even a coach may have something to say to a referee, but after the match he goes up and apologizes and say, listen, I lost it, but thank you. You know what I mean? I think you did a good job, or what have you. Those conversations happen on a weekly basis, but that's not what that makes news, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even the international break we had, we could have celebrated the fact that we had young Clinton Hayward, who was a assistant referee in the match between USA and Korea in the United States. 26,000 paid people in the stands,
Absolutely.
And that's a reward of what he has started to do here that has progressed him to somewhere else, to be seen internationally kind of thing. And if anybody who can't fulfill what their dream is of playing football, you can stay in football and do something else that can be rewarding just like that.
Sure. I mean, to be honest, I compare refereeing to coaches and players, because the things that you hear as a coach or as a player doesn't stop you from going out next week to play.
Yeah.
So there is something there. There is a rewarding experience that everybody is happy to be a part of. So refereeing is no different.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Mr. Hayward could have possibly seen me running a line 10, 15 years ago and been inspired to take it up himself.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll give you that one,
Griff. You lit the fire.
Yeah, completely plausible.
Mr. Beard, you talked about infrastructure. And one of the things a few years ago, the association had put out about the area around the Clyde Bass Center of Excellence. Has there been given any thought as far as upgrading, improving, whatever that area was going to look like or be like? Has there been given any more or further thought into that? I know there was some talk about putting a dorm or office space or meeting space or whatever. Has there been any further talks on that?
So we have a master plan here for the Clyde Bass Center of Excellence, and we're working through that master plan, and it's a working document. So yes, dorms were part of the discussion. A large meeting space or event space was part of the discussion. It's still in our thoughts and still part of our master plan. But there's some things that must come first. We have to replace the surface here at the Clyde Bass Center of Excellence, which I'm hoping we get done in the next year. There is some development below in our changing rooms area. We wanted to expand on our analysis and our technical analysis, being able to have a team, sit down and go through technical analysis and kind of develop the whole technical area, which is the downstairs area here. And we also need to fence in and secure our property. Right now, it is a neighborhood place to play football, but it is the national training facility, and it needs to be exclusive. So this is some of the plans that we have heard, and we also have thought on Bermuda as a whole, from St. George's to Somerset, of what that should look like from a football perspective. How many grounds should we have? What each ground should have in terms of facilities. Right now, we only have 3 grounds that are capable or meet the standard to host cup finals: Somerset, St. George's, and the National Stadium. And Daventry Rack. But can we get more? What can be done to bring other grounds up to those standards? So there's those sort of things that are in our minds from an infrastructure perspective.
Okay.
So that's part of the misinformation that's out there. People think that the BFA executive are just fat cats that just show up to games in suits. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
A lot of work. Football's a 24/7, 365 operation here in Bermuda, and it's done by volunteers. So, yeah, and if anybody really wants to know what goes on, come see me.
Join a committee. Join a committee.
Join a committee. Come see me, and they'll get a clearer understanding of what it takes to run football in Bermuda, what it takes to manage 3,000 players, what it takes to get a stadium of 4,200 people, a full stadium. It's no easy task, but I think if our team is up to the standard and up to the challenge.
So last week
Yeah.
last week we talked a little bit about it, but I gave a bit of references from my time being involved with the executive. But Punchy and I saw like after the game in Jamaica, and like done. We saw a lot of the executive like used to the ties, and there's a lot of work that goes on to make that all happen. I was wondering from your point if you could give listeners, viewers, and some insight into what it takes to actually make one of that happen.
Sure. So I mean, I'll use the National Sports Center as an example. The National Sports Center is not completely at the standard of international football. So we need to have a PA system. That PA system is the BFAs, and we have to install it. And even then, as you saw, and those were there for 4,200 people, that wasn't enough. We have a whole VIP section that we want to, create this VIP experience for our sponsors, and we have to create that. You go to a stadium in the States or even in the Caribbean, you don't have to create it; it's there. That has to be done. We have all the banners that have to be put up. There's a whole lot of marketing responsibilities that we have and regulations that we have from FIFA and even CONCACAF that we have to put up. We don't have the electronic sponsor boards that you could just type in a name and go with it, right? It has to be constructed and then moved there. So there's quite a bit. We have to get the whole GPass up and running. GPass has to have enough staff to be able to scan people and get them in. There's a whole security setup. And even from a security perspective, the National Sports Center isn't at the security standard that's required. So we end up having a lot of manpower to secure the stadium versus having structurally it being secure. There's quite a bit. I mean, over in this last match, we had quite a few physically challenged folks who wanted to come to the game. And even then it was difficult in terms of where should they sit. A couple times I met people at the sports center before the game to say, here's your options and where would you like to sit? That doesn't happen in other countries. They already have this area constructed, and they can go in and sit there.
Accessible.
Yeah, it's a lot. Being able to predict when we need to use the Arboretum for parking. In a normal FA Cup game, FA Cup final, we don't need the Arboretum for parking. But when we're starting to watch ticket sales, then we have to kind of, jump on that and say, okay, well, now we are going to need it for parking. So there's a host of things that happen, host of meetings that go on. We've got to get work permits for the crew that comes in. An added feature this time around was VAR. Never been done before. They needed a room that was totally blocked out and totally secure. We had to create that, right? We had to create that. There's normally when we do a CONCACAF match, there's only 2 cameras. With VAR, they needed 4. So you would have seen all the temporary wiring that had to be put in place to be able to do VAR and do it well, right? So we had to support that as well. So it's a lot, Anybody interested? Come see me. We need help. I won't lie, you know.
Hey, Punchy and I want to let you know that the Perrier that was in our spot for the media plays, it wasn't cold enough. Just for next time, all right?
You have any cheers?
Yes, sir.
You have any cheers?
All right, yeah.
Yes.
Nobody say, and see even that where we have to create an interview area, right?
Right.
The minute it rains,
Yeah.
we're in trouble. You understand? There's quite a bit to it. You know, if the weather cooperates, it's quite nice. But if it doesn't, it's trouble. So yeah, quite a bit.
So somebody just put a comment in about put whatever money is needed. Bermuda has the money, put it in. But I think, as being a former Bermuda treasurer, I know it's not that simple, because the allocation of the money and taking from here, putting there, like it's not that easy. The budget is stretched, and like if you can take money and put it into the international program, that means something domestically is not going to happen, and it's a difficult juggling act.
Sure, no, it's a juggling act with the BFA, definitely. I would say about 80% of our money is restricted. So if we say we're going to spend it on footballs, we got to spend it on footballs. But you know, like how much investment do you want the BFA to do to the Florida Southfield Stadium? I'll tell you, we have done some investment there, and perhaps we'll do some more. But for the Bermuda Football Association, who uses the Florida Stadium 5 times a year, 6 times a year, you know, maybe my treasurer looks at me funny if I say I need to build an interview room. He may say, why are we building it, right? But I think that's a question for the country, and it's a question for the country in sports in general. You know, I think we need to turn the corner from sports being just thought of as recreation, and you know, who has the political will to do that? If you look at the ministry that's responsible for sport's the last name, not the first.
Always yes.
So maybe that's an indication of how the money also gets dispersed amongst that ministry as well, right? Perhaps.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
Punchy, any parting questions for the president?
No, I'm good. He's answered quite a bit. Thank you very much, Mr. President. He's answered quite a bit.
No problem.
Okay, we'll release you from your blinking, as Mr. Griff has put on you.
Hey, look, in your time away, I know you're a very busy man. Work on your Morse code.
But you know what? I let me get it, if you could indulge me a little bit. I was listening to the show and you were talking about antisocial behavior before I came on, and I did want to just touch on that a little bit, because where we've come from to where we are now is almost a paradigm shift, right? And I think the detractors of football in particular always point to these incidences that are almost 20 years old now. And when we think about you know, where we are today, where the clubs agreed to put in a policy where if a player was suspected of antisocial behavior, it wasn't allowed to play. These are the things that's happening today, and even the protocols that were put in place to arrest the whole idea of antisocial behavior, those still exist. And you know, the incidences of antisocial behavior at clubs is at a low, right? And certainly in comparison to years gone by when I was coaching, which was in the 2000s. But I will say this, and it's taken a while because you know, early on, antisocial behavior was being dumped on football, right? And that's the truth. And it's only now where these types of incidences, whether it be violence or murders or shooting, are happening anywhere, from golf courses to nightclubs to restaurants, they're everywhere, neighborhoods, they're everywhere now. And thankfully, Bermuda is now aware that this is a Bermuda problem that we tackle. You know, and we need to, as a country, need to get serious about what do we do and how do we do it, and what are we prepared to sacrifice to deal with it. The example I use is El Salvador. El Salvador implemented a state of emergency and they arrested 40,000 people and held them without charge because they were determined to deal with the gang element, crime, and antisocial behavior. Trinidad today has a state of emergency because they were prepared and had the wherewithal because they wanted to deal with crime, murders, death, and antisocial behavior. So the question is to the public, what are you prepared to sacrifice for us to deal with it? So
if I could just piggyback on what you said in the mid to late 2000s, I think you were involved in, BFA was called to a commission of inquiry about antisocial behavior. And the question came is, what are you doing to solve the issue of antisocial behavior? So I can remember asking the panel, if you give the courts tens of millions in the budget, police tens of millions, probation service tens of millions, social services, education, and social tens of millions, and they haven't solved it, what makes you think that BFA is going to solve it with $250,000 that you give? And I was like, the other story.
No, agreed. And I think, for us, we took the decision that we needed to protect the game from this, right? And some people thought that we shouldn't have done that. But if the game is being harmed by it, we need to do something. So that was our solution. The best back policy was our solution. We need to protect football. Are we still standing on the vanguard as preventing? Absolutely. Do our clubs do a good job in terms of what we instill in our young people? Absolutely. You won't get no argument from me.
You just slipped that in. Could you just explain to the listeners or viewers who don't know what BASBAC is?
Oh, sure. Sorry. So BASBAC is a policy by which we vet every player in the country. We've had to kind of shelve it because of PIPA, but what we did was we vet every player in the country, and each player was given a red, yellow, or green. If the player was red, he is immediately suspended, and he could appeal that suspension. If the player was yellow, he was invited to come and speak with the player status committee and talk about why is he yellow and what is he doing to distance himself, or is there some mitigating circumstances by why he was yellow, and the player status committee would decide whether or not that player will play. And yes, there have been players who have been banned. There have some, and there was always a way back from being banned as well. So that policy was effective, was painful, to be frank, but it was effective. And we needed to now look back at the policy and see where it falls or fall of PIPA and see where we can amend it.
What was the impact of PIPA? How did PIPA stop you from doing it?
Well, there's personal information that got shared. So, that's where PIPA comes into play. We just need to make sure that we don't fall apart of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you very much for joining. To my co-host, thank you very much. Just to give an update of the score over at Devonshire Recreation Club, it still stands Dandytown Hornets 3, Paget Lions 0. They should be getting ready to, well into the second half now. So, and then at 8 o'clock, it's North Village versus Boulevard Blazers. So, again, thank you very much for joining. We'll be back next week, Sunday at 6 p.m. with another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. And we may even invite the first vice president, who's also the chairman of competitions and or referee chairman, to join us next week. So
Join us next time when we bring on Mr. Wade and we'll talk about colonialism, a new Bermuda flag, and a new national anthem. Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Charlie. We appreciate it.
Hey, now I know why you got rid of him off your executive.
Hey, I was one of the players that got banned by Batsback.
Have a good night. Have a good night.